Do you read newspapers? Or perhaps you prefer reading things online? Maybe reading isn't your medium. How about watching the news? Because all of us, at one point or another, has consumed media, and media is an important part of our life and our society. How else am I going to check sport results from the other side of the world, or see if it will rain tomorrow? But what happens when media becomes a tool used to manipulate, a tool used to plant thoughts into our heads? Today we will look at one such instance. In 1949, a CIA director by the name of Frank Wisner was given a task. He was given a task to start an organization responsible for the manipulation of media and direct action in America and countries around the world. This operation would be known as Mockingbird. The justification for all of this was to fight against the spread of communism, but surely there was a better way to do this. The CIA would go on to hire many top journalists working for big American publications to further their cause. But they did not stop there. They would also go on to bankroll students and foreign publications as well. Anything to stop the threat that is communism. They would even go as far as funding a Hollywood film. While we could argue the ethics of Operation Mockingbird, we cannot argue its effectiveness because, like it or not, Mockingbird was effective. The CIA was able to implement a mass media manipulation system, allowing them to control a good portion of public perception. They had the ability to release media that fit their narrative while censoring those they did not like, as long as it was under their control. Companies such as CBS, Time magazines, New York Times, New York Herald Tribune, New York Post, The Washington Post, Louisville Courier Journal, and Copley News Services. Another aspect of Mockingbird was the hunt for communist sympathizer in the press and in the film industry. Investigation would be carried out looking just for a sniff of leftist ideas. In one instance, an investigation was carried out into the Hollywood film industry. This resulted in 11 offenders, 10 of which immediately sent to jail for a short period of time and blacklisted. This type of experience was not uncommon for those involved in the media and associated with the left. An American actor who goes by the name Lee J. Cobb described the experience. The blacklist is just the opening gambit, being deprived of work. Your passport is confiscated, that's minor, but not being able to move without being tailed is something else. I was pretty much worn down. I had no money, I couldn't borrow. I had the expenses of taking care of the children. Why am I subjecting my loved ones to this? He later succumbed to the pressure and began cooperating with the C.I.A. While Mockingbird was able to operate secretly for some time, they could not stay in the shadow forever. In 1964, David Weiss and Thomas B. Ross would publish The Invisible Government, a book going into detail about the CIA's covert activities and how the CIA operated. From there, just 2 short years later, Ramparts would publish the first expose of Operation Mockingbird. Sol Stern, the writer of the expose, described the experience. Until the Rampart story broke, the government could count on the mandarins of Washington Post journalism to protect national security secrets. But as detail of the front group spilled out, editorials in the Time and the Post skewed the secret funding arrangement and compared it with the methods used by America's Cold War enemies. The CIA was beginning to feel the heat. The Watergate scandal drew the attention of the American public onto America's many agencies. This led to many various investigations, the one being relevant to us being the Church hearing. In 1975, an American senator by the name Frank Church set up a committee. This committee would call in CIA Director William Colby for a hearing. The Church committee would go on to release various reports exposing the CIA, leading to public outrage. The next year, George H.W. Bush publicly ended the CIA's relation with the US media, stating, "The CIA will not enter into any paid or contractual relationships with any full-time or part-time news correspondent accredited by any United States news service, newspaper, periodical, radio, or television network or station." Propaganda and fake news has been a hot topic for quite some time now, especially since the 2016 US presidential election. It is a real possibility that many Many different governments and large organization or cooperation could be, scratch that, is using the media for their own good. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if an operation similar to Mockingbird is being run right now. And that's really sad. It's sad that the media, practically a daily part of our lives, could be used in such a way. It's sad that a large amount of people are being manipulated unknowingly.
Causes and events leading up to our entry into the war. Well, what are the causes? Why are we Americans on the march? Is it because of Pearl Harbor? Is that why we are fighting?
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal?
We do have people who submit pieces to two American journals.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the national news services, AP and UPI?
Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session.
I thought that it was a matter of real concern that planted stories intended to serve a national purpose abroad came home and were circulated here and believed here, because this would mean that the CIA could manipulate the news in the United States by channeling it through some foreign country. Now we're looking at that very carefully.
Gray cutter. He turned the docket round and pushed it gently across the desk to Bond. The red sans serif letters, still damp, said, "For your eyes only."
In one of the books you have Bond referring to his own basically dirty life.
Well, of course, spying is a dirty trade, and we all know it. Khrushchev has said so, and so has Allen Dulles.
Well, why do you think a hero who engages in a dirty trade and leads a basically dirty life has become so popular with the reading public?
Well, it's very difficult to say. I think because perhaps the books have pace and plenty of action, and espionage is not regarded by the majority of the public as a dirty trade. They regard it rather as sort of a very romantic affair, you know, since the first days when the spy from the other side lifted up the tent flap and listened to the plans of the Arab chieftains and tried to get away with it. Spying has always been regarded as a very romantic one-man job, so to speak. It's one man against the whole police force or an army.
Some of the papers and some of the documents that are in the archives are there, but are withheld from public view by the FBI, the CIA, an organization with which you have some experience. Is there anything in those which years from now, when they may be released, will upset apple carts?
Oh, no, I don't think so. No, I think everything that really is vital insofar as forming a judgment as to what really happened has been made available.
At CBS, we had been contacted by the CIA. As a matter of fact, by the time I became the head of the whole News and Public Affairs operation in 1954, the ships had been established, and I was told about them and asked if I'd carry on with them.
That continues today?
Well, I would think probably for a reporter it would continue today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, It seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now, or he runs the risk of at least being looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
Exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This particular project is really very interesting from the official cooperation standpoint because we don't confirm or deny that we have a training facility. When we are looking for people in the clandestine service, we're looking for people who really think and live outside of the box, who are very autonomous, very self-contained, and yet very much team players, people who can deal with the ambiguous gray areas of life.
Our cause is just. Our enemies everywhere. Some scary stuff out there.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false news
has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.